Good morning, ministers, other respected guests from the government, all of our delegates, distinguished guests on the front row. Welcome to our conference, our record-breaking conference with 350 delegates drawn, as Rachel said, from across Europe, but also with delegates from the United States, New Zealand, people with South American connections. So we have a lot of interest in this conference. We find it truly inspiring to see so many dedicated professionals, people with disabilities, advocates, policymakers, and stakeholders gathered here today, all united by our shared commitment to advancing employment opportunities for people with disabilities. As president of the European Association of Service Providers for Persons with Disabilities, a network which now represents over 20,000 services for people, children and adults with disabilities from across 47 countries in Greater Europe, I am delighted to welcome you to this conference, organized in collaboration with our dear partners in the net, a network of Greek service providers, which has now grown. I will stand to be corrected, but I think it's at least 21 provider organizations across Greece. As we gather today in Athens, we are presented with a unique opportunity, an opportunity to reflect on how disability support services can unlock the open labor market for persons with disabilities. And of course, as we all know, if we don't get things right in early years education, in school age education, in vocational education opportunities, and in post-school assistance and support, open labor market access is extremely difficult for persons with disabilities. So our journey starts in the early years, not just at age 18 plus. This conference comes at a pivotal moment, with our recent European Union elections bringing in new leadership to the European Parliament and a new Commission. This is an opportune time to advocate for a renewed focus on employment for persons with disabilities. And together with our member organizations, we are working hard and through our Secretariat in Brussels to implement new policies that really bring the open labor market closer to people with disabilities. Our shared goal is clear: to ensure that persons with disabilities have equal opportunities to access and thrive in the open labor market. The question for us, whether we are disabled people's organizations, parent care organizations, or service providers, is how support services can play a pivotal role in achieving this better future, and crucially, what we need to do to succeed with the assistance of governments and municipalities. And the same question particularly applies to businesses who we are pleased to welcome with us today and tomorrow. Despite progress, the employment rates for persons with disabilities have remained unchanged. The disability employment gap remains at 25% across the EU member states. More pronounced even for people with intellectual disabilities, psychosocial disabilities, or autism, who often face significant barriers to open labor market opportunities. But please, fortunately, there is good news. More businesses are embracing workforce diversity and actively seeking to recruit persons with disabilities. New technologies, human resource systems, and improved accessibility standards are enabling greater inclusion. Support services are opening up opportunities for persons with disabilities on the open labor market. Enabling policies around a reasonable accommodation, state aid, and public procurement are gaining traction in the corridors of power, whether that's in Athens, in our member state capitals, the EU, and also in third countries in Europe, in the wider Council of Europe area. We also, last but not least, are now grasping better funding opportunities that exist and that can help test and implement new approaches to creating more inclusive labour markets. What perhaps is still missing for us is an awareness about all these new tools and instruments on a cross-European or even international basis, an ambition to set up systemic policies that can enable all these tools and instruments to come together in an integrated fashion, and to ensure that all of these possibilities come together. Over the next 2 days here in this conference, we'll explore these promising developments and more with our many experts and you as experts in your own fields. Thank you, dear delegates, for your dedication, your energy, and your expertise. Let us work together to open doors, dismantle barriers, and forge a path towards an inclusive labour market that values and supports the potential of every individual. On behalf of the board of the European Association of Service Providers, we are delighted to be here in Athens with our dear partners from the net, and I now give the floor to our colleague, Georgios.
Καλησπέρα.
Good morning. Seeing so many people in this room, so many distinguished features. I mean, we have important guests that have joined us from all over Europe and all over Greece. And here we are in a full house. We were about to book the next room as well. There wasn't sufficient space with such turnout, and it's great. This goes to show that you're really interested in what we are going to talk about. And of course, what we're going to talk about is just a small chunk of what we are concerned with vis-a-vis disabilities. We're all committed to our children. We are all dedicated to our offspring, which has grown up and they are almost or about to become socialized. They are on the verge of joining the community, of being employed. And this is, after all, what we're going to talk about in the context of this two-day event. And it's a good thing that already my brother, the president of EASPD, already discussed most of the points we were going to touch on. And so let me just add one thing. We're not going to refute your expectations. We, thanks to your active involvement and cooperation, are hopeful that the outcome of this two-day event will be useful to benefit the network and EASPD and also the state which is here represented informally in terms of deliberations and consultations on all things disability, especially with regard to vocational education and training. Most importantly, we are here and hopeful about opening up the market to these people as well on equal terms without any difference whatsoever compared to everyone else. This is what we are striving for. This is what we are pursuing. And at the end of the day, I expect we will have produced results and have been successful. On that note, let me welcome the representative of the Archbishop of Athens, who's here. Let me also welcome Mrs. Sophia Zacharaki, our minister, and also Mr. Christos-Georgios, and also Mrs. Niki Kerameus, the minister, along with Prodromos Pyrros, the Secretary General, Mr. Zacharaki, the other Secretary General. There's a long list of guests. I don't think I'm just referring to the celebrities today because they are part and parcel of the family. These people have proven in the past and also today how they care about us, how much they care about us. Thank you so much for showing up. Just let me share one thing with you. The net was established and it's advancing with a view to cater to the needs of all people with disabilities, regardless of age, as of a tender age until they come of age for that matter. Then the net, or Diktyo, was established by 13 entities, meaning the 13 biggest institutions and foundations in our country, quality and quantity-wise. So on average, each and every one of our institutions has been up and running for 50 years. We are still growing. There will be another 5 members joining us as of January. Now, what is the objective of ours? Clearly, as you can tell from today's agenda, our objective is, after all, to take a scholarly and scientific look. The very identity of the net is certainly focused on the scientific aspect of things in terms of the needs that we're trying to cater to. And that's what we're striving to do. We're trying to provide people with realistic solutions, with answers to the problems. We thus turn to the state and the government to get answers in order for us to eventually provide well-validated and documented solutions and answers. And as you can tell, Minister, there's consultation encompassing Europe, encompassing an institution that has 20,000 members, an entity, an association that is working daily in the field. So this is very important, and we're putting this together, all of us together. So let me welcome you once again. I hope you have an enjoyable 2 days. I hope you are all constructive and prolific in your discussions and work. At the end of the day, we all wish for good results and outcomes that will be beneficial to our children. Thank you once again.
Καλημέρα.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to Athens.
In order to have all this amazing crowd with us. And dear presidents, both of you, you've given us the salutation that really inspires the follow-up statements that we will do alongside the members of the government that are here today. Pleasantly be here, not as something that we had to do, but something that we wish to do this morning as we welcome you all here to Athens. And we really hope that you take away all the amazing insight and all the interaction that you will have. At the same time, please enjoy Athens and please enjoy on the wonderful discussions. We will be also receiving alongside our colleagues all the input that you will have, all the ideas and the insights. Before that, though, I may have to say that the net has been an invaluable consultant and a member of the active consultation we have had alongside Minister Skertsos, who is in charge of the general strategy for people with disability. He will be also talking to you today, and alongside the very important contribution of Minister Kerameus, who will be delivering a speech on how to boost employability of people with disabilities. And of course, our two Secretary Generals who are here today, in order to really make a reference to people with disability, their empowerment, and of course, child protection, which is an integral part to the newly established ministry, which I'm happy to represent, the Ministry for Social Cohesion and Family Affairs. It entails a lot of competences. People with disability and the policies is a very intrinsic part to this new ministry, but also reinforcing and intensifying the efforts in order to increase the employment rates that are extremely low here in Greece as regards people with disability is one of the main priorities of the Prime Minister himself, who I am happy to represent here today. Let me also, and allow me to make a reference to EASPD. We have not met for the first time. The then Ministry of Labour, now Ministry of Social Cohesion and Family Affairs, as regards that specific competence, had decided to work with the EASPD on a pilot basis. This pilot phase, which is now due to take action. You started the pilot phase with some organizations here in Greece, if I'm not mistaken, 7 of them, and you gave very important insight as to what early intervention is, because, dear friends, you all know better than me that early intervention is so important for people, for families that are noticing something, for teachers that are in preschool, for teachers that take care of children from the age of 0, the first months of birth, where the parents come and really trust with us their children, up to the age of 4, where compulsory education starts here in Greece. And thank you very much, because you've given us the action plan as well, in order to implement the first ever early intervention program, which is due to start the beginning of 2025. Yes, EASPD has been instrumental in making this happen, and we really promise that we will deliver this message to Brussels as well. I've already talked to the president, and I'm sure that Mr. Papadakis, you will also be there with us in order to inform the newly elected European Parliament as to what early intervention is. I will mostly refer to that today, alongside the other measures and programs that we in the Ministry of Social Cohesion and Family Affairs take, because I'm sure that the other ministers will elaborate more also on the deliverables of this very important conference. Let me go back to my text. I try to stay away from that. I will try to keep to that. And also say that I truly believe that in this effort, and this is a collective effort to support and empower people with disabilities, I feel, and we feel at the Ministry, that it's not only a moral obligation, but it is also a strategic, social, and economic development that is also needs to be taken into consideration. These efforts are essential for bringing inclusive and resilient economies as well, and societies, communities that ensure that no one is left behind. And recently, we presented, and I'm happy to share with you, to the Prime Minister and the Ministerial Council, the first ever national action plan for demography here in Greece. And the policies that really refer to the people with disability are very much one of the basic pillars of this action plan on demography. We are also allocating more than 140 million euro from the RRF. You may not know the RRF, especially if you come from the third countries abroad and, of course, outside of the EU. It's the money that the European Commission allocated in order to tackle the impact of the epidemic, and 140 million from our ministry is allocated to very active policies that have to do with people with disability. Let me share some of them. A very important flagship program that our Secretary General Prodromos Pyrros is working very intensively on, the personal assistant. It's the first time ever that Greece is offering this pilot program now to about 1,100 people, Prodromos, and it is a home-based assistance to over, as I said, 1,100 people, individuals with disabilities across the country. And of course, we hope to roll it out as a national policy after 2026, which is the official end of the personal of the RRF. Secondly, we're going also to renovate homes of people with disabilities, because accessibility starts from our own personal space and it extends, of course, to our cities. And let's not also forget the very important digital platform, people with disabilities platform, where you can get all the information alongside the digital card, where you can actually carry it with you, not have to carry all the certificates. That was the reality until now. Let me also refer in the last minute, which I have been warned that I have. Let me also share with you the first ever program that we will also deploy in the year to come. 200 people in the spectrum of autism will work in different enterprises in the private sector alongside the mentor, somebody who will help them be introduced to a context and, of course, the work environment, and a new also employment perspective program, a new digital training program funded by the RRF that will benefit 2,800 individuals, equipping them with digital skills necessary, of course, to succeed in today's digital economy. I think that our collective efforts are paving the way for a more inclusive society. I really hope the best for this conference, and please make sure that we all share all the outcomes of that. We will stay committed as a government, I think as a society here in Greece, to not leaving anyone behind. Thank you very much for your attention.
Πρόεδροι, διακεκριμένοι προσκεκλημένοι, υπουργοί. Θα ήθελα και εγώ να σας προσκαλέσω, να σας καλωσορίσω στην Αθήνα. Η συλλογική δράση είναι απολύτως αναγκαία για να το επιτύχουμε. Μπορούμε να επιτύχουμε μόνοι μας λίγα πράγματα. Πολύ περισσότερα μπορούμε να επιτύχουμε συνεργαζόμενοι. Και ως Υπουργός Επικρατείας, ο οποίος έχει την ευθύνη, την αρμοδιότητα μάλλον παρακολούθησης, εποπτείας της υλοποίησης εθνικής μας στρατηγικής για τους ανθρώπους με αναπηρίες, μπορώ να σας πω ότι έχουμε τουλάχιστον 10 με 12 υπουργεία τα οποία εμπλέκονται στην εφαρμογή της εθνικής μας στρατηγικής. Αυτό είναι πολύ σημαντικό. Είναι η πρώτη φορά που η Ελλάδα, μια ελληνική κυβέρνηση, έχει αναλάβει δράση σε τέτοιο επίπεδο, σε επίπεδο δηλαδή πρωθυπουργού, ο οποίος είναι πολύ ευαισθητοποιημένος σε θέματα αναπηρίας, έχει συγγενεί τη μητέρα του στην οικογένεια με αναπηρία, οπότε αυτό είναι πολύ αγαπημένο του ζήτημα. Μας έχει δώσει λοιπόν σαφή εντολή από την πρώτη μέρα ανάληψης εξουσίας να δείξουμε ένα γνήσιο και ειλικρινές ενδιαφέρον για θέματα ανισοτήτων και αναπηριών, και ξέρουμε και ξέρετε ότι η Ελλάδα υπέφερε την προηγούμενη δεκαετία. Διήρθε μια σοβαρή οικονομική κρίση, η οποία μείωσε σημαντικά πολλές δημόσιες δαπάνες σε κρίσιμες κοινωνικές υπηρεσίες, και προσπαθούμε τώρα να αναπληρώσουμε, δημιουργώντας μια πιο στιβαρή οικονομία, μια πιο υγιή οικονομία, προκειμένου να δημιουργήσουμε μια δικαιότερη οικονομία, μια πιο συμπεριληπτική οικονομία και κοινωνία, και έχουμε μια στρατηγική με περισσότερες 150 πολιτικές και δράσεις στο σύνολο του κυβερνητικού έργου, με ένα κύριο στόχο, και ο στόχος είναι να βελτιώσουμε την προσβασιμότητα των ανθρώπων με αναπηρία.
Every area of public life. First of all, in education, which is the cornerstone of every society, in the labor market, in health services, in culture, in sports, in politics, everywhere. Like Sophia said, we don't want any citizen to feel that he or she is left behind. We want to move forward collectively. This is our mission, to create a more just Greece, a more just society. And we really are thankful that you have brought such a distinguished and important conference to Greece, because this increases visibility to this cause, and it creates awareness, both on our side at the national level, but also at the European level. We are and will stay committed to assist your efforts to create more efficient policies at the national and at the European level. And we thank you for being here. Thank you.
Dear Ministers, Secretaries General, dear Presidents of EASPD and the NET, ladies and gentlemen, it is a true pleasure and honor to address this international conference on the crucial role of disability support services in opening doors to the labor market. Increasing participation in the labor market for people with disabilities is not only a matter of individual empowerment, it also is a challenge of national importance. And as highlighted by the previous speakers and colleagues in the government, our government is committed to promoting equal opportunity and accessibility for all, ensuring that no one is left behind. You heard two of our most dynamic ministers on this topic. They are truly committed. They're devoting many, many hours per day on making this happen. At the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, we have systematically over the last 5 years worked in that direction. Please allow me to share just 3 recent, I would say, initiatives that we undertook in that direction.
The first one, and directly relevant to the topic of the conference, we recently proposed a legislative amendment allowing workers who qualify for disability pensions to receive their pension without having to cease their employment. Up until recently, and for many decades in Greece, these workers were faced with a wrong, in my opinion, dilemma: to receive support by the state or to work. And what we're saying is that should not be an or. It should be an and. That's what is mandated. No dilemma, both support from the state and at the same time working. So this dilemma, I would say, was based on outdated notions surrounding disability. In fact, this government's position is that workers with disability should be able to choose both options. And once this amendment becomes law in a couple of weeks, they will be able to do so. Second recent example, we have undertaken a massive effort to increase the number of doctors working at disability certification centers around the country, adding new specialties to the list. We recently hired about 700 additional doctors. That's more than double the number we already had. What does this mean in practice? More doctors available for appointments for people with disabilities. So in a nutshell, what this means is faster and better support services offered to people with disabilities. And the third indicative example, we have recently expanded the list of irreversible medical conditions that are certified for life. This ensures that more individuals that have irreversible disabilities are given lifetime certification and that they don't need to be reevaluated every year or at regular intervals. So in essence, what this means is a significant benefit to these individuals. Also, at the same time, this measure, I would say, it lessens the admin burden on disability certification centers, and it shortens the time required to process and certify new applications. Now, a lot of initiatives have been undertaken. You heard Mrs. Skertsos earlier talk about more than 150 horizontal policies across 10 or 12 different ministries. That does not mean that we don't still have a lot to do to further promote equal opportunities and accessibility for all, and in particular, as far as the accessibility to the labor market is concerned. And we do have many plans in mind, such as training programs that are targeted at the vulnerable social groups, incentives for new job opportunities for people with disabilities in the private sector, and supported employment are just a few of the ideas we have in order to further enhance participation of people with disabilities in the labor market. And our government will continue working in that direction because we firmly believe that one's profession is a lot more than just a source of income. It is a fundamental component of an individual's identity. Equal access to employment is not just about economic equality. Employment contributes to our personal development as well as our emotional and social well-being. It enables us to connect with others, to find purpose, to realize our potential. I want to warmly congratulate you on your work. We're truly delighted to have you here in Greece. Thank you so much for choosing Greece and Athens for this phenomenal conference. And I truly hope that this conference will be constructive and fruitful. Thank you very much.
Secretary, sir.
Dear Ministers, Secretary General, I would first like to thank EASPD for organizing this great conference here in Athens for an issue that is very much a priority for the Greek government, as it is for you, increasing labor market participation for persons with disability. I would also take the opportunity to thank Mr. Papadakis, the President of the NET, for the constant cooperation that we have over the past year and before that with the previous administration, and the members of the NET that have been a valuable ally in the process of creating a policy framework that meets the needs of persons with disabilities. As it so often happens, my minister has already mentioned most of the key initiatives that we undertake, and I'm also doomed to sound much less charismatic than she does when delivering all the policies that we are putting in place. but I will repeat herself. So the newly founded Ministry of Social Cohesion and Family Affairs concentrates a number of competencies that focus on enhancing labor market participation of persons with disabilities. One key policy is the personal assistant, a pilot program and an innovative policy in Greece, and a policy that is a cornerstone for independent living. As I am sure most of you know here, the personal assistant is that person that removes physical obstacles from the person with disabilities, facilitates integration in society, and by extension, helps them enter into the labor market. Right now, we have more than 1,100 persons with disabilities that have a personal assistance. We are learning from what went right and what went wrong, and we are planning on having the national rollout in 2026. Also, I would like to mention another key initiative that contains the renovations of workplaces with voucher schemes. Approximately 500 workplaces will be renovated to make them accessible to persons with disabilities. Another initiative that is directly linked with increasing labor market participations for persons with disabilities. Also, I would like to make a special reference to a pilot program that we have that contains a mentoring scheme and also a subsidy for 200 persons at the autism spectrum. As a Minister of Labor already mentioned, creating a framework for supported employment is a key priority for the government as a whole. And we at the Ministry of Social Cohesion and Family Affairs aim to focus on that program that will give us the lessons that we need to create a comprehensive legal framework for supported employment. Also, last but not least, we are also undertaking an initiative to increase digital skills for personnel with disabilities. We know that there is a significant handicap between persons with disabilities and the general populations in digital skills. In some cases, we have to address the issue of digital illiteracy, and through a program funded by the RRF, we are trying to close that gap and increase digital skills for persons with disabilities. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a set of policies that will not resolve the issues that we face in Greece associated with the labor market participations of persons with disabilities. But these are concrete steps that we are taking. And alongside all the other initiatives that are being undertaken by all other ministers, with the coordination of the Minister of the State, Mr. Skertsos, we are hoping to create a more equitable society and a society where we can all benefit from the increasing participation of persons with disabilities in the labor market. Because these are not policies that benefit solely the persons with disabilities. These are policies from which we are all benefit. Thank you.